Hey, good morning. Yes, it is up and at 'em, guys and gals. Today is Monday, the 20th of July, I believe. So, what are we talking about today? Well, I thought we'd talk about optics and why optics are so important, no matter what business you're in or even in your personal life. So, stay tuned. Alrighty, welcome back to the channel. My name is Eric. If you didn't already know it, yes, this is the weekday, Monday through Friday. Today is Monday, the 20th of July of 2025. So, what is so important about optics? What do I mean by optics? I mean, you can view yourself one way, but the other person on the other end is seeing something totally different. And that's very important. I've seen shoddy shops that did crappy work have good optics, and the customers think they got the best deal in town. Where I've seen the best shops have shoddy optics, and the customer thinking they got screwed. So, how can that be two extremes? That it's all because it's optics. It's how your customer and the public is perceiving you. And I'm not saying to have make it a false optic. I'm just saying that you need to take a look at what are you putting out there to your customers, to the public, and what message are you trying to bring to them? If you're trying to bring to them that you do good work, you're fair, you're honest, those are all good traits, right? But all it takes is we'll use for an example, okay? Customer brings in their riding lawnmower to get fixed, all right? And it's a normal in and out. You do a service on it, you fix the problem, and the bill ends up being $350. It's good so far, right? Well, here's where optics come in. The customer brought the mower in because it needed something fixed, and you just did a full service on it. You fixed the issue, but you didn't explain it well enough of why it's 350. Even though it could have been 550, but you felt bad and you didn't want to stick your customer, so you stuck it to yourself for 200 to reduce the bill down to help them out. Optics. If you can't explain to your customer what you did, why you did it, and how you're saving them money, you could very well be screwing yourself with bad optics. And it's something that you can practice and do every day. And that is talk to your customers. And that's why I tell everybody, make your customer a friend. And how would you want a friend to be treated? I mean, not your shitty friends, your good friends. And my motto has always been, for probably the last 30 years, is do unto others as you would hope is the key word, they would do unto you. But even with the way I come across and the way I do things, and I try to make customers my friends and stuff, I still struggle with optics at times. Because if you're not picking up, here's the gist of it. And if you got little kids in the room, have them plug their ears. Most people have their heads so far up their own asses that they don't realize what's going on elsewhere. Period. That's the God honest truth. Is I've had friends, and I've done this before. Sit there and festered on how somebody had done me wrong, and the only one that's having a problem with it seems to be me, because the other person doesn't realize that they did me wrong. Or if they did me wrong, they don't give a rat's ass. So they aren't very much of a kind of a friend, right? But when that customer comes in front of you, all they care about is their machine, not the backlog that you have, not the ones that are sitting out there that are all done, ready to go, and how fantastic you were for the day. It's about them and their machine. And you have to make it about them and their machine. Find out how much they want to know. And never talk down to them. And never use mechanical jargon to try to impress or wow your customers. It never works. Talk in layman terms of what you did. Take the customer out. Show them what you did and why you did it. And a lot of times, just by going into explaining why you did it and how many hours you actually had on it, and that you didn't bill for, goes a long ways. Because the customer wants to know that you're on their side, period. That you're looking out for them. And that if you're a shop that bases everything on income first, you're going to get a reputation. Because good chances are you're not spending much time talking to your customers. You're just pushing out work, whether it's good or bad, right? And this, I have a lot of guys that are just one-man bands that say, well, Eric, I can only wear just so many hats. I don't have time to coddle my customers. But yet, the most successful ones that I've ever met did just that. There was one, his name was Jim, and everybody called him Uncle Jim. He wasn't even related to anybody, but everybody looked at him as Uncle Jim. If you needed something fixed, take it to Uncle Jim. What do you think for optics on that one? Pretty good, huh? Because they had faith in him. So much faith that they just started calling him Uncle Jim. Everybody in town called him Uncle Jim. But he was always the one that made time for everybody. Did he become filthy rich in the small engine repair business? Absolutely not. Like I said the other day, if you're in it to make a big chunk of money, you're in the wrong industry. You need to find something like higher elevated. Because what you're going to find is you're going to be working long hours and doing a lot of stuff out of the goodness of your heart because you don't feel right charging a customer because you want to be fair, right? But I remember growing up, he also would take, for us kids, he would take like the tubes out of car tires that weren't worth patching when it come to putting it on a vehicle. But he would take and he would patch them and he would blow them up with air. And he would give them out to the kids to float down the river with. Yes, back when I was young, we were allowed to float down the river. Nobody thought about drowning. I mean, heck, our parents kicked our asses out at daybreak in the morning and didn't expect us back until dark. They weren't worried. But we are now. But that's what I mean by optics. It's how the customer and the public perceives you. And you're always going to have those naysayers. And what am I saying, naysayers? You can't please everybody all the time. You can't. And what I found is that you also have, with the ones that you can't please, there's, in that segment, there are people that have learned in life, the more they scream, holler, and have a tantrum, the cheaper it gets. It's a learned behavior that they've learned from other aspects of their life. And they thrive on that. And they go home and they laugh about it, how they got something over on that shop owner because they bitched and complained until the shop owner either said, take it, or reduce the bill. Sad. But there are people like that. And I can tell you right now, people like that are on a short list. And what do I mean by a short list? I mean, if you're in this business, I don't care whether it's automotive, lawn and garden, recreational vehicles, side by sides, ATVs, all, become friends with the other shops. Do it. If you can help them out, help them out. And they'll help you out in return. But the biggest reason that you need to become friends with the other shops is you guys are going to spot these people miles away. And if one of them comes in to any one of your friends' shops or your shop and does this BS, then you can let the other shops know this is what took place. And pretty quick, nobody is going to want to work on their equipment. And they're going to sit there and pout and cry. Why is it nobody is willing to work on my stuff? Well, because you're an asshole. That's why. It's plain and simple. If you thrive on making other people eat your bills, but it's optics. So you can't concentrate on that small segment. You have to concentrate on the whole. What can you do to have better optics? Well, one, it's what people drive by and see. What is their first visual of your shop? Are there things on the outside that could be less clutter, look nicer, better arrangement of mowers if you're selling, new mowers, if you're floor planning and stuff, or maybe you got used stuff for sale, clean it up, put it out front. Pressure washing doesn't take that much. And if you're buying and flipping mowers, the best thing you can do is take a pressure washer and get it all cleaned up. And if you're selling, even working on customers' machines, I see this a lot. This is off on a tangent. But around the engine will be caked of dried oil, debris, dirt, everything else. That's an aluminum case and is made to disperse the heat so it keeps the engine cooler. If you don't keep that clean, it has no way of dispersing, so it starts getting hotter and hotter. And it takes and gives more wear and tear on your engine than it should. But just the optics of driving by your shop, and what's the first impression? And don't be afraid to ask other people. They may think there's a serial killer inside that building for as tall as the grass is out front. Or that the guy doesn't know how to fix lawnmowers because if he did, his yard would be mowed. Right? So optics are very important. So let's get by the first part of somebody driving by. So that's one way we can increase optics, better optics, is get the place cleaned up, get some signage out there so that people know who you are and what you do. Because I still have people in my community that don't even know we exist. We're the best kept secret. So that's one way to improve optics. I mean, you can't put lipstick on a pig either, and that is have the most beautiful shop and then suck at everything else. So when you have optics, you have to keep going with this. So you have a shop that people, when they drive by, know exactly what you're doing. They know what your name of your company is. And the next thing is to get them to know who you are as an owner and your crew, your mechanics, your customer service. That's the secondary optics. And that is how you're answering the phone, how you're answering emails, how you're answering texts. Again, we go back to this. Most people have their heads so far up their own asses that they haven't a clue what's going on with everybody else. And that holds true for when it comes time to fix their lawnmower when it's broke. They don't care that there's 100 people ahead of them that need their lawnmower fixed. They want theirs fixed today or as soon as possible. You can use honesty and also finesse at the same time. You have to first let them know you understand their problem. I get it. I'm really sorry that your lawnmower broke. Here's what we're looking at right now for time wise. And you may want to take it to another shop if you're backed up or something where they want it yesterday. Or you can tell them we'll get to it as soon as possible. Now, as soon as possible means later in the day to them. But to you, you're talking possibly Monday of next week. There's somewhere in the middle, communications failed. So instead of you saying, I'll get on it as quickly as possible, the better answer would be, you're probably looking at next Monday before he can even get into the shop. That sets the tone. But don't say next Monday and then have it be Thursday before it gets in. Because that's optics, right? You told them one thing and then you went and did something else. And that's, the customer is constantly judging you as an owner and you as a mechanic on how well and how quickly you fix their stuff. We have a number of customers that are really great customers that I have one I'm going to this morning that her husband did something to the riding lawnmower again. But they've been customers of ours for years. And one of my biggest supporters going through the heart stuff. So she sent me a message yesterday saying, Eric, the lawnmower broke again. The hubby broke it. When can you get a chance to get a look at it and see if you can't fix it? So I told her, I said, this morning, I'll pick it up. Now, why does she rate and I got other customers waiting? She's always been my supporter. She's always you find out who your real friends are, not when you celebrate things, but when you're at your lowest point. Look at the people around you at your lowest point. And this could be running a business. At your lowest point, who is still standing by you? That's your core. Not when you're successful and you're doing good and all the people that want to surround themselves. No, it's when you're at your worst. And this goes into your personal life as well. When the chips are down and you're at your worst, who is the core people that are still there? Propping you up, helping you out. That's who you take care of first. Not because they supposedly pay quicker or something. No, it's because those are the core people that stood by me, and I will stand by them. That's just me. I don't need to tell all the rest of my customers I'm doing that. I'm just going to do it for her. It's how you present yourself, and we talked about that too the other day, about coming into the shop. And if where the people come in to pay the bills and drop stuff off, this and that, needs to have a look of professionalism. Don't come into my shop today and judge me. Because I need to get it cleaned up. But with haying, it's been kind of disarray. And then swapping trucks this month, where I had to clean out my other truck, so all that crap is in the middle of the floor in the showroom part where my stuff is, the office, where we're sorting through tools and deciding on what I want to put back onto my truck, the new truck, because it's got a tonneau cover instead of a toolbox. I've got a toolbox that'll fit right in there. But I kind of like the tonneau cover because I'm doing more efficient, so I can throw stuff in there and it locks it up, But there's a secondary optics. When people come into your shop, what do they see? And you have to learn how to communicate with customers, how to put them at ease. I don't know if I said it the other day that I had an older couple bring in 2 chainsaws. And I told them, I said, I can give you a quick yay or nay on it. And they've been good customers. I said, I'll throw a compression test on it and we'll go from there. So they brought it down to 2 saws. And I'm doing the compression check, and I get the first one, the big saw, and it's got like 120, 125. And I'm screwing the compression tester into the small one. And he's saying, Eric, the reason we come to you is because I'm a carpenter by trade, not a mechanic. So I take whatever I have that needs mechanical stuff to people like you. So I told him, I got news for you. We're not mechanics either. Well, his wife just about fell to the ground laughing. But you need to know your audience. You need to know who you're talking to. Now, if you said that to somebody that just come through and you're telling them you're not a mechanic, could you see where one thought it was hilarious and put at ease, and the other one would put a customer standoffish if you're not a mechanic either? You need to know how to spot and communicate based on that. And that comes with time and experience. If you're not a people person where you can't stand people, it's a tough racket. I mean, I've known one-man band mechanics that were like Oscar the Grouch. Bitch and complain all the time. But their customers loved them. Yep. Because on the outside, that shell of Oscar the Grouch, but yeah, he was compassionate. He would do stuff for people when he knew they didn't have the money to have it get done. He would do it and just say go. You get to decide, because you only get one shot at this. Or in my case, I've had 4 or 5 shots. So I'm going to start wrapping this up. Yeah, we've been having some technical issues with the video. Don't worry about it. For you guys that are listening on the podcast and stuff, you'll never know it without me telling you. But the biggest thing take away from today is optics. Why is optics important? And it's just not doing all the right things. It's also looking at how you're viewed. And don't be afraid to ask some of your customers, what are their first impressions? How did they ever come to go to you versus somebody else? Because you want to portray good optics. And I can put in the comments, different ads that we run that I've come up with as far as to try to get people to come in. If you're interested, well, I'll go ahead and I'll put it there. And then if you want to borrow it, borrow it. If not, don't worry about it. But the biggest thing takeaway today is how optics are really important. And no one knows it better than me. I know I'm good looking. And women throw themselves at me because optics. So I'll leave you on that one. You guys have a great Monday. We'll see you here bright and early tomorrow morning. And again, thanks so much for being part of the channel and watching these videos. Without you, it'd just be me and the dogs watching the videos. Enjoy.